We talked a lot about this last week. The Netflix roast of Tom Brady was a big success for the streamer and got a ton of headlines, but it turns out Tom has some regrets about doing it. Here's what he said on the Pivot podcast. Take a listen.
I loved when the jokes were about me. I thought they were so fun. I didn't like the way that it affected my kids. So it's the hardest part about like the bittersweet aspect of when you do something that you think is one way and then all of a sudden you realize I wouldn't do that again because of the way that it affected actually the people that I care about the most in the world. It's a good lesson. Like for me as a parent, I'm going to be a better parent as I go forward because of it.
All right, Jeff. So we all watched it. We loved it. We laughed along with him. What do you think of his now regret? And should he have seen the criticism coming? I mean, just knowing this day and age and the climate.
Yeah, but I echo his thoughts, right? He's going to be a better parent for it. I'd rather put things on the table, get roasted, and get it over with. They can't just fester and pick at him. He's going to have a career moving forward. Everyone online is going to make fun of his past. Everybody has a past. Nobody is perfect except for the people online. So just to face what's happening, I understand fully about protecting my kids from this industry and from public scrutiny, but he's going to be a better parent for it. Hey, guys, now we can have a conversation. They're a little bit older. They're teenagers. Dad did this in the past. Don't make the same mistakes I did. If you want to be great, he's the greatest of all time. These are the steps you have to take. I'm sorry about your friends and things. People are going to pick on you. Either way, there's going to be hurdles through life no matter what you do. So I like that all of it's on the table now. We can have a real discussion about it and then put it behind us and move forward.
I think in this age of transparency, a lot of people have come to the forefront, famous figures, to talk about the way that they handle the situations with their children's moms. And I think that's where, to me, that's what I was hearing. When you talk about my mama and you as my father don't defend her, then you're also putting me out there in a way to tell me that you aren't protective of the woman who gave me life. That hits a little different. I think from a PR standpoint, this is probably a situation where you ask for forgiveness later as opposed to have asked for permission before. But I don't know if he took into account the effect of the failure of protecting their mothers would have on the children. Right. I think a lot of people don't see that.
You saw it right away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I looked and I think about it's like. Jeff, your kids are young and coming up. If you and your wife were going to do kind of like a sexy boudoir shoot for whatever publication, your first thought, honestly, your first thought would be, what about these pictures? Are these going to resurface when my kids are in middle school? Because you have to be thinking about your kids. When somebody said something about the owner, Robert Kraft, he was up out of his seat. And he cursed at right. Jeffrey Ross and said, don't say that again. I'm not saying he's a monster for not saying that when they were going at his ex-wives and by proxy his kids, but his kids, the optics of them not seeing him stand out of his seat
for their
mother,
yeah.
Right or wrong. I think Tom Brady's a good guy. I think he's a loving dad. I think he's a guy that's trying to find himself after his career. But to not have that vision and to not have anybody on your team like an Erica that would have pulled me aside or a Sam would be like, look, as you know, I'm raising a young daughter and I don't think your daughter would really like that. It's not really all on him, but it's on his team. And no matter how you lay it out, his kids were affected, and he should have seen it. And sometimes you can't unring that bell, and that's what you got to think about as a parent. I don't think he's a bad guy.
Listen, it's a roast. They're all jokes. You got to get up and fight somebody every time they make. You're there to make jokes, and your wife's unfortunately part of that. And they weren't saying your wife's a dirty little. They're making jokes, general jokes. They're all in the public eye. It's not like some lady that's now she can't teach at 3rd grade anymore. Everyone knows who they are. We need to stop being so sensitive about everything. I think it's a good lesson.
I'm talking about the kids.
I don't think it's a matter of sensitivity. I think this is actually a very nuanced conversation because no one here has said anything about the actual technical aspect of that roast. It was brilliant in every single way. I'm simply saying, and I think what we're speaking to is the unringing of a bell. Like, what are you able to, or what are you willing to sacrifice? Because things like that, you have one time as my father to disrespect my mother, and it's going to take you a very long time to ever ever get that type of respect from me back.
I get
so
what
that's
you're saying.
and it's a duality here, and no one is saying. And I think Tom Brady made a great choice in terms of his professional career. I think that the roast came across very well. But what he's speaking to in this moment, and what he also subsequently spoke to, is the idea that he lacks balance in his life. His scheduling isn't the same. You're talking about somebody who had decades, 40 plus years of being a professional football player. Was this the time frame to make a decision like a roast right now, when so many people in this era of their career after retirement are crashing motorcycles and trying to figure out, what their purpose in life is?
I just want to say quickly, I'm tired of you can't unring that bell, because I feel like everyone is judged by ringing their bell from the past, and everybody has a past. I'm tired of the conversation of you can't unring that bell and holding their feet to the fire for things that they've done a long time ago.
Good
Well, that was
combo.
like 2 days ago.